BP added more than $70 billion to the U.S. economy in 2022 by making investments from coast to coast. Investments like building charging hubs for fleets of electric buses in California and starting up new infrastructure in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
Professional welder Shayna Ford used VR training developed by ForgeFX to hone her skills as a welder.
The more time that you spend practicing it, that's what separates a good welder from a great welder.
VR training can help students like Shayna repeatedly practice specific skills.
Virtual reality definitely helps because the more muscle memory that you have, the smoother your weld is.
Explore more stories like Shayna's at meta.com/metaverseimpact.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Welcome to News du Jour. You may be wondering, why am I, Annie Bowles, here hosting this podcast? I usually start by telling people I'm a political baby. You see, my parents met working on Capitol Hill. By the time I was 2, I had been in my first political commercial and even got lost crawling around the West Wing. Don't worry, Al Gore found me. My family then moved abroad when I was 9, and I attended an international school in Brussels with kids from all over the world. And it is this type of global perspective that I also bring to our show. I graduated from American University in DC after studying political science and art history, as well as interning on both sides of Capitol Hill. I even interned down the hall from where my parents met. I'm now pursuing a professional certificate in journalism at NYU in conjunction with Rolling Stone magazine. I guess I was always that friend in the group who cared deeply about not just what was going on politically, but also globally. I often kept my own friends informed through high school and into young adulthood, so I guess I've always done a version of this show. I'm genuinely passionate about following the news, and I'm here to break it down for you guys every weekday. We always strive to be a calmer space to get your news. Or, as one listener put it, like getting your news from a well-informed bestie. I'm so glad you're here. Hey everyone, so a very exciting update about Senate Bill 1470 that you guys have been following along with us on. The bill is headed to the Oklahoma Senate floor tomorrow. So this is the time, you guys. If you want to help us pass Senate Bill 1470, if you listen to our bonus episode on April Wilkins or our bonus episode with Colleen McCarty, and you really want to make a difference in what we're doing and trying to pass this bill, it is actually so easy. All you guys are going to need to do is pick up the phone and call a senator's office. I know it sounds intimidating, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the number as well as a word-for-word script and the 5 senators that we most want you guys to reach out to in our show notes for today. So the number, who to ask for, and then when you get their operator, exactly what to say. It literally couldn't be easier. And at the end of the day, I always like to remind people that this is just like a person on the other end of the phone. It's like calling and ordering a pizza. Like, they are so used to getting this type of phone call. As long as you are polite and respectful, they will be polite and respectful to you back. It's just another person. And never be afraid to ask a dumb question to me or to them, because at the end of the day, they are supposed to be representing us, you guys, not the other way around. So never be intimidated to reach out to your representatives. That said, if you're outside of the state of Oklahoma, you can still call. Just if they ask you, are you a constituent? Make sure to say, no, I'm not, and be honest about that. And just say, I'm just someone who cares about domestic violence in Oklahoma. That is always like a perfect way to remind them of why you're actually calling. So anywho, I wanted to thank you guys so much. You know, this is a big moment for us, obviously. We made it out of Senate committee and now we're headed to the floor. So I will be camped out most of the day at the Capitol on Thursday. If you would like to join us, we would so appreciate anyone and everyone who wants to come and just sit in the Senate gallery with us to let them know we're watching and we care. That is like one of the best ways that you can really show up for survivors, is to show that you care by physically going there. I also wanted to say, if you guys are, enjoying our coverage of this bill or learning how a bill gets passed, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. Our little show really needs exposure, and positive reviews on Apple and all other platforms can really help us with that. So if you want to help us with exposure in that way, or resharing us on social media, any way you can help us with exposure, we so appreciate it, you guys. Thank you for being a listener here. And now, without further ado, we're actually going to spend the bulk of today's episode talking about 2 things that there are conspiracies running rampant about. First and foremost, Kate Middleton again. Yes, guys, because I found out a shit ton more after we aired yesterday's episode. Some of you guys sent me things. I saw more things online. And then that conspiracy is kind of getting connected to the Boeing conspiracy, or let's just go ahead and say the same people are talking about both of these situations online and otherwise. And we're going to dive into this suicide that is related to all of the Boeing fiascos to do with their airplanes. There's a lot to cover today, but it is all in the conspiracy realm. So what I'm going to do is basically walk you guys through where I heard what. Everything to do with the Boeing guy was from a Time magazine piece. So, that is where Time magazine is where I got most of the reporting there, as well as the Charleston police. Of course, they put out a statement on the subject, but with the Kate Middleton stuff, shit is a lot more pieced together. And some of the things that I've heard are straight up rumors. If I hear something repeatedly that is a rumor and I cannot substantiate it, but I think it is interesting and something you guys should know about because people are talking about it, I will label it as just that. There is a rampant rumor about XYZ. Don't know if it's true or not. And that is how I make sure that you guys are up to date on all of the tea, but you also know where the information is coming from and what is verified and what is not verified. Let's jump in. So I actually did know about this piece yesterday, but forgot to include it. There was a paparazzi photo that was of Kate Middleton supposedly with her mom in the car. And it was a bizarre photo, I will say, just like in general. Like, for example, there was an extra tire at the bottom when it appears that there's no car behind them. So that was really bizarre and strange. But to me, I looked very closely at this picture. I looked at various versions of this picture. Y'all, you cannot convince me that that is anyone other than Pippa. It's Pippa in that picture with Kate Middleton's mom in the car. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. It looks just like Pippa, and she looks different than Kate. That said, I don't know who initially said it was Kate in the first place. Maybe someone mistook Pippa for Kate, and that's how this thing went viral. I don't know. Then there's a second paparazzi photo that I looked at as well, where Kate's face supposedly is turned away from the camera. Again, I don't know how this photo came out in the first place. I could not trace that trail. It's everywhere now, though, and it is even more bizarre because here's what I'll say. This picture, or the profile of Kate, looks a lot like this old picture of Kate from, like, I think they said 2016. And again, this is just speculation. This is just people noticing this, that it looks almost identical, like to the point where the bow is exactly the same. And it looks exactly the same, almost like they photoshopped an old picture of Kate into this picture and then grayed it out a little bit. So it's like blurry, like a paparazzi photo. Also in this photo, the brick just doesn't match out the car window versus above the car. It's just really mismatched. I don't want to go into it more than that, but you guys can look, it looks photoshopped. And after they've admitted to really intensely photoshopping one picture, it makes you second guess everything that they're putting out. But I found out yesterday after I reported a ton more information. So let's just jump into bullet point style what I have learned. Needless to say, a lot of this was very difficult to fact check. So I will share how I found this information and what I can and can't confirm as we go along. So December 25th for a Christmas event was the last time people saw the royal family all together. And the only thing I have to back this up is photography. I don't see any pictures like in January of the family together, anything like that. And then an ambulance allegedly, this was something that I heard over and over and over again, but could not substantiate in any way online. Again, this is something that the royal family is being very hush-hush about. But there was an ambulance that allegedly went to Sandringham, where the royal family spends Christmas, on December 28th. And according to the rumors, someone left in this ambulance. This is straight up a rumor. I could not confirm or deny this based on any of my research. And given that the royals told us that Kate had an abdominal surgery, and based off of her formally apologizing and having to cancel events, it does seem that this surgery, whatever it was unexpected. So it's possible that, this rumor is true and just related to whatever the reasoning was behind her surgery. The family had plans to go to Italy ahead of time. So that, sort of ties into all of this, that the surgery, whatever it was unplanned because, again, they had a trip booked for during this time. And Kate, again, in her statement put out to the press and to the world, apologized for having to cancel any events and anybody who might be disappointed that they're not going to get to see her. So it does seem whatever happened was very unexpected. And then this is something I actually could confirm with the actual news sources that are putting it out there. A Spanish source, quote unquote, who is said to be, quote unquote, from the palace, has said that Kate is in a coma. The royal family denied this outright and called it nonsense. But the source came forward a second time after the royal family denied it to say, nope, Kate is in a coma. And people are starting to believe that this source may have actually been the children's nanny, as she is Spanish. And I confirmed this through a People magazine profile of their nanny, Maria Borrallo. Also, remember how the palace literally said that the king did not have cancer, a non-cancerous procedure, and then said, oh, wait, actually it is cancer. Well, people are finding this kind of a convenient distraction from Kate's medical issues, sort of that flub of saying it's not cancer and then it is cancer. It's kind of look over here, not over here. Unexpected deaths have also been surrounding the family, and I'm not even going to get into these in depth unless we have an extra slow news day the rest of the week and I have nothing but time on my hands to cover this. But essentially, Pippa's ex-boyfriend, a man named Thomas Kingston, he passed away by suicide. And, there's just a lot of speculation online that he somehow knew something through Pippa. It seems a little far-fetched to me for sure, but it's just something to note. And then a lot of people are also talking about Lord Jacob Rothschild and his death potentially being linked to all of this. And these are two kind of unexpected deaths surrounding the royal family.
Across America, BP supports more than 275,000 jobs to keep energy flowing. Jobs like updating turbines at one of our Indiana wind farms and producing more oil and gas with fewer operational emissions in the Gulf of Mexico. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
Ophthalmologist Dr. Strauss has seen firsthand how the metaverse is helping surgeons practice the procedures to treat cataracts.
Cataracts are the primary cause of avoidable blindness.
He works with a virtual reality training platform developed by Fundamental VR and Orbis International to help surgeons develop the muscle memory they need. The result? More confident, capable surgeons. And even more importantly,
Patients who can see.
explore more stories like Dr. Strauss's at meta.com/metaverse impact.
And here are some things that I have been hearing, however, though, when I fact checked, are absolutely not true. So people online keep saying that the palace did not recognize Kate's birthday in any way, shape, or form, not on social media, nothing. When in fact, there was a happy birthday post that went live on January 9th, Kate's birthday. It's still there on the royal family Instagram page. If you want to scroll down, she's in like kind of this robe that's blue and red, and she's wearing a tiara. You can find it. It's right there. People are also saying that the children haven't been sighted, and this is incorrect as well. William has been seen taking the kids to school and even received gifts for Kate while he was there. According to Great Britain News, he has taken the kids to school every day since Kate's surgery. I also found out, and this was surprising to me, but certain hospitals in Great Britain don't allow children in to like see relatives, or maybe the hours are limited or something like that. But this was something that I found out for the first time about Great Britain. That is definitely not the case here in the US. I've been in the hospital way more than I would like to have been with my chronic illness, and my child has always been allowed in. So I didn't know that that was the case. But I also want to make you guys aware of that, because people are like, why haven't the children gone to see her? All of that. And there's actually rules and regulations around that. So I just wanted to clear up what was rumor and some new information coming to light. If you guys have anything else you want me to cover to do with Kate, or any questions, please let me know. One of my main questions to do with this whole thing is about like friends and family of hers. Like, are they speaking out? Because people on the internet seem to think she's straight up missing. Like, she has been harmed in some way and is missing or in a coma. And if that's the case, then like, why aren't her friends like, where's Kate? Or like, hey, I brought her flowers last Tuesday. She's fine. You know what I mean? It seems like if one of my friends were to completely fall off the map and was, you know, publicly telling people they had had a surgery, I would want to like check on her and make sure she was good. So that's what I'm kind of curious about. You know, obviously if we're seeing pictures of Kate's mom and Pippa, like what are they thinking about all of this? And could they clear it up in some way? I'm very, you know, keen to find out more. And if I hear anything, I will let you guys know. And without further ado, we'll transition over to the Boeing quote-unquote suicide. So according to Time magazine, the Boeing whistleblower who was going up against the airline titan in court has died in an apparent suicide. Obviously, a lot of people are side-eyeing this situation as it is very convenient for Boeing. And we all know that white-collar crimes can become red-collar crimes. So let's walk through the details that we know for sure. So this whistleblower, John Barnett, was specifically supposed to answer questions on Saturday in a deposition, but then he didn't show up. When his attorneys called him over and over again to find out where John was, he didn't answer. They were obviously worried about him, so they went to the hotel where he was staying, and that's when his body was found dead in his truck in the parking lot. Not in his room, in the public parking lot. The Charleston County Coroner's Office held a press conference and told the press that John Barnett died of what appears to be a, quote, self-inflicted gunshot wound, end quote. But they also said that they plan to thoroughly investigate this death. Literally, though, you guys, Boeing put out a statement to Time that said, quote, We are all saddened by Mr. Barnett's passing, and our thoughts are with his friends and family, end quote. Yeah. Ugh. It just feels so disingenuous because obviously they benefit quite a bit from him not being there to give that deposition. This man had actually worked for Boeing for 3 decades, you guys. But since the serious malfunctions that we have been seeing on Boeing flights lately, he's retired and he has become pretty outspoken on this subject, a thorn in their side, you could say. But Mr. Barnett has been outspoken about Boeing's safety standards kind of across the board. He was saying things like certain airplanes' oxygen masks only had a 1 in 4 chance of working, or that Boeing was putting out faulty parts into their planes just to produce as many planes as quickly as possible. But this guy wasn't Boeing's only problem. Far from it, as you guys can imagine with everything we're seeing in the press. I mean, there was an event in Australia just this past Monday where a plane plummeted from the sky and 50 people were injured. They're also facing a very serious lawsuit regarding the Alaska Airlines flight where a panel of the plane came off mid-flight. Several passengers are banding together to sue Boeing for, $1 billion. That is a lot of money. Meanwhile, Boeing is also being investigated by Congress and the Justice Department. And after a lot of back and forth, they literally told Congress this week that they could not find their own records on the door that flew off. I cannot, you guys. You don't just lose those records. So it feels like Mr. Barnett could have kind of been the missing link in all this, in a sense, someone who knew a ton about Boeing and how they handle business from a manufacturing standpoint, someone who isn't afraid to talk, he didn't have much to lose as he was retired, and he could connect the dots for everyone between, the safety situations we're seeing on a very public scale to what's going on behind the scenes. And it could have, led to some positive changes for the company. But now he is conveniently silent. Or maybe he was silenced. Police are investigating, and we will definitely keep you guys posted. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. That is not philosophy, that is physics." And because that was kind of a woo-woo quote, I wanted to include that was a quote from Albert Einstein. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from
Across America, BP supports more than 275,000 jobs to keep energy flowing. Jobs like building grid-scale solar energy in Ohio and producing gas with fewer operational emissions in Texas. It's and, not or. See what doing both means for energy nationwide at bp.com/investing in America.
Liberty's leave policy was tremendous. Having the ability to take 16 weeks off, fully paid to bond with my child, was an incredible experience.
At Liberty Mutual, you can find a career that supports you at every step, even baby steps. We offer up to 16 weeks parental leave for new moms and dads. And because not everyone's pathway to parenthood looks the same, we offer robust fertility, surrogacy, and adoption benefits too. Learn more at libertymutualcareers.com and pursue your tomorrow today.